Welcome to the first joint virtual crime prevention town hall, a collaboration between the County of Grande Prairie Regional Enforcement Services and the Grande Prairie Rural RCMP. I'm Staff Sergeant Matt Short of the Grande Prairie Rural RCMP Detachment. This evening you'll hear from 4 presenters, followed by a question and answer session. Once the presentations end, we will invite you to post your questions in the question and answer area of this virtual meeting for our moderators to share. While we can't answer questions about specific cases or incidents being investigated, we do welcome questions about crime prevention plans and strategies. Please keep your questions clean and respectful, as we will not address any that violate our social media commenting guidelines. We'll get to as many questions as possible. Those not covered in this evening's event will be shared on the County of Grande Prairie website, along with a link to the recording of this live event. I'd like to introduce our panel with us this evening. That includes Leanne Beaupre, the Reeve, the County of Grande Prairie. Dan Lemieux is the Director of Community Services for the County of Grande Prairie. Sean Curry, the Superintendent Officer in charge of the Grande Prairie RCMP Detachment. Peter King, the Inspector and Operations Officer for the Grande Prairie RCMP. And Stuart Rempel, the Superintendent and Manager of Regional Enforcement Services. At this point, we welcome Reeve Leanne Beaupre, who brings greetings on behalf of the County and Grande Prairie Council. And welcome, Reeve Beaupre.
Well, thank you, Staff Sergeant Short. Good evening and welcome to our first joint virtual crime prevention town hall. Your attendance at this event indicates that crime prevention is important to you. Council shares your views and has identified safe communities as one of our strategic themes. In our recent citizen satisfaction survey, county residents listed crime amongst the top 3 of their priorities after roads and taxes, confirming that Council's strategic themes are on the right track. Safe communities are strong and growing communities. They create economic and social opportunities for everyone to build the unmatched quality of life that we strive for in the County of Grande Prairie. Safety encompasses policing. It is also tied to providing support to our partner agencies in the community who address the root cause of crime. Our strong partnership with the RCMP, which we see in action tonight in this joint virtual event, is an essential part of creating safe communities. I believe the information you're going to hear tonight will be invaluable, and we welcome any questions and feedback on the work that we're doing. Please join me in welcoming Dan Lemieux, Director of Community Services for the County of Grande Prairie.
Thank you, Reeve Beaupre. And I'd like to welcome all of our listeners, and I'd like to thank the RCMP for the opportunity to partner in this virtual town hall. I have 3 items I'd like to discuss and inform our listeners about. The first one is to do with enhanced RCMP members. So over the last 23 years, the county has made a significant investment in supplementing the policing complement through enhanced RCMP members, contributing approximately $1.2 million annually to the program. So enhanced RCMP members are extra police officers above and beyond what the province funds for rural policing. So that's an extra investment of $1.2 million a year that County Council has made a commitment to. The second item I want to talk about is the county has been working with the RCMP with a goal to build a rural policing detachment in the hamlet of Claremont. We hope to have this facility up and running in the next few years. A physical rural police presence will ensure higher visibility along with quicker response to rural crime. And this is something council has been working on for some time, so we're really excited about that opportunity. The third thing I want to talk about is safe communities. So the county has made safe communities a high priority in the strategic plan, and is working with law enforcement and crime prevention organizations such as Citizens on Patrol and Rural District Crime Watch organizations to make our communities safer. Now, safe communities are not only about law enforcement. We also focus on the well-being of our residents. The county continues to invest significant dollars in supporting programs that help create healthy families and healthy communities. Programs such as our community school liaison counselors, homelessness initiatives, seniors programs, including a new Keep in Touch program, and early childhood development programs. All of these initiatives bring our residents together to address issues such as suicide, opioid use, and mental health to make us not just a safe community, but a caring community. So thanks again for being with us here tonight, and please join me in welcoming back Staff Sergeant Matthew Short of the Grande Prairie RCMP, who will present the RCMP Rural Report.
Thank you, Dan. My presentation, if we can have that. So my presentation will give participants a better understanding of the area being served by the Grande Prairie Rural RCMP, the members that are in the Grande Prairie RCMP Rural Detachment, along with their roles. We'll also have some information for the current crime statistics for the region, along with an overview of some of the initiatives that we've taken on as a rural detachment as part of our annual performance plan. The rural detachment services quite a large area, a little over 14,500 square kilometers. Includes the communities of Sexsmith, Claremont, Grovedale, Bezanson, TP Creek, DeBolt, Ridge Valley, and Crooked Creek. We border a number of different detachments within our areas. That includes Beaver Lodge, Spirit River, McClellan, Valley View in the Grand Cache area. The members of the rural detachment right now consist of 16 members as general duty, 3 road supervisors, 2 members assigned to our detachment general investigations section, 1 member as part of a special investigations unit, which focuses on sexual assault and domestic violence investigations. 1 member from the rural area participates in the crime reduction unit as part of the detachment, and another member as part of the drug unit within the detachment. Some recent changes that we've had with this have provided us with the opportunity to move to a 24-hour policing response. In years past, that wasn't always the case, and we've recently been able to make those changes. We're also able to, with the members that we have as part of rural, draw on the detachment resources for general investigation sections and those other specialized units to assist on the larger investigations when they occur out in the rural area. At this point in time, we're fully staffed in the rural area, although we will be expecting some changes here in the coming weeks and months. One of the reasons that we were able to move to a 24-hour policing model is the new enhanced memorandum of understanding that we have with the county that we've signed to carry through to 2025. Positions that were in the past part of the enhanced unit have been brought into the rural detachment as a whole, which allows us to move to that 24-hour policing model. That also means that we've taken on the responsibilities that the rural enhanced unit was taking on for school presentations, large community events and stuff like that, that will be managed through the rural detachment. As well, we've also committed to having members from the rural detachment working from the county enforcement building in the Claremont area. We talk about some statistics for crime in the last year for the rural area. There are a couple of things to note here. Overall, for criminal code offenses in the last year, there was a 6% increase for criminal code offenses in the last year. This goes along with a 77%, not 70, but 7% increase in property crime and a 1% increase in persons crimes. The increase in property crime is actually related more to fraud related files than break-in enters and motor vehicle incidents, where we had a 21% and an 18% decrease in those areas respectively. A couple of other stats just to share. We are, with everything in the COVID world, we have seen a slight increase in domestic violence files as well. That's up about 15% from the year previous. We talk about this year was a new year for the rural detachment in that we created our own annual performance plan. In years past, the annual performance plan was done as an overall performance plan for the Grande Prairie detachment as a whole, incorporating the city and the rural areas. We identified that there was an opportunity to create one specifically for the rural detachment for an annual performance plan, which we worked with our partners in at the start of April last year. We identified 3 areas that we wanted to focus on over the coming year, those being communication, visibility, and crime reduction. When it came to communication, one of the areas we identified was the opportunity to create a detachment newsletter to highlight some of the more day-to-day issues that we can deal with as a police detachment outside of the big media releases that we send, as well as provide some community and public service announcements to residents. Some of the things that we've been able to cover through this newsletter have been information on online criminal record checks, securing seasonal properties, Halloween safety, computer safety. We introduced the launch of the RCMP mobile app, as well as distracted driving and intersection related events. The other area that we then tackled was police visibility. We always see the police car drive by our house, but sometimes we don't always get to see the police officer come in and have a talk or an opportunity to talk with us or share views. So we identified the opportunity to come and do this as a visibility patrol and instituted the rural door knocker program, where members were doing patrols throughout the area, had the opportunity to stop at residences and speak with the issues that are going on in that area, provide the door hanger that you see on your screens, which included the date that they were there, as well as some basic crime reduction strategies on the back. So if nobody was there, you would see that hanger on your door and at least know we'd been in the area. Our goal at the start of the year was to get to about 200 residences. We're at 176 residences at this point, so we're well on our way to meeting that objective for the year. Crime reduction is another area that we targeted. We've done that through a couple of different means. One, obviously, is using our crime reduction unit to target areas in the rural, and also working with our district crime reduction unit, which resulted in a project where $100,000 in property was recovered, along with some prolific offenders for property being taken into custody. Our rural, or our own crime reduction unit out of the detachment, ran a bait vehicle program earlier this year, which we were happy to see got stolen. And the people that were associated with that were arrested and charged. That was a vehicle where it was stolen, was out in the Byzantin area, and it was taken from there. We also regularly do prolific offender checks in the area for anybody that we know and that are on curfew conditions. That did result in somebody that was on parole being identified as being in breach of that parole. Subsequently, they were arrested and brought back into custody. We talk about some of the sections that we are able to draw in the rural area. Our GIS section is a large section within the detachment where rural contributes members to that area. And from that, we are able to get the assistance of the full unit for larger files. An example of that is a kidnapping file that occurred over the summer months in the Claremont area. The GIS team was able to identify and secure multiple scenes as a result of the investigation, obtain the necessary judicial authorizations and warrants, which resulted in 2 suspects ultimately being charged with kidnapping with a firearm and a number of other offenses to go with it. They also assisted in a home invasion and stabbing incident in the fall of 2021. They've taken carriage of that investigation, secured the property. They've done a number of investigative steps to try and identify the subjects, and that file is still ongoing at this point in time. Again, we, as a part of the rural, have put one of our members in with the detachment drug unit. They've assisted with several investigations. Another one is where they did a lengthy project last year, which resulted in a substantial amount of cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, handgun, and cash being brought in. We were able to charge 3 individuals with those offenses related to drug trafficking and the firearms. The Specialized Investigation Unit is another, this is a fairly new unit to the detachment. They're focused on the complex domestic violence investigations and the sexual assault investigations that were identified as being one of the high-risk areas of the detachment. We wanted to make sure that those areas got a higher level of investigation, in a more thorough investigation where possible. We contributed a member to that, and as a result, again, like the GI, they help us with those types of investigations. A good example of that is where they assisted in a section of the file that resulted in a domestic violence file that resulted in multiple firearms being seized and a person being charged under that that offense. Again, as part of the enhanced responsibilities that we've taken on, one of the key areas that we've identified or worked with this last year was the TB Creek Stampede, which occurred July 8th to 11th, which was right after all of the restrictions regarding COVID were lifted by Kenny during the summer. We maintained a high police presence for that event, resulted in several arrests for disturbing the peace, public intoxication, assaults. We did have several sexual assaults were reported that are being investigated by our SIU unit. We are continuing to work with those event organizers for this year's event so that that can be hopefully reduce those high-risk events and have a better and safer event this year. The last thing we want to talk about or introduce everybody to is the Alberta RCMP app. This is a fairly new app that's available for Apple and Android devices. It's a very useful tool. It provides regular news updates, online crime reporting for some of those lower priority files that you don't want to call in. You want to just have it reported, but you want to talk to anybody. There's a tool for that now with this app. Crime mapping, and then also provides links to Crime Stoppers and some of our other partner agencies. This concludes my presentation for this portion of the event. I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Stu Rempel for
Thank you very much, Matt. It's a pleasure to be a part of this, our first virtual town hall. So let's take a quick look at what my department does, Regional Enforcement Services for the County of Grande Prairie. My department is a multidisciplinary law enforcement agency dedicated to improving community safety, traffic safety, infrastructure safety through proactive patrols, cooperative partnerships, crime prevention, education, and community policing initiatives. Believe it or not, the County of Grande Prairie Police Department was established in 1977. The County Police Department was created as a fully armed authorized police agency supplemental to the RCMP for the purpose of working with the RCMP in reducing rural crime. On May 1st, 2007, the province of Alberta created the Alberta Peace Officer Program. And the Peace Officer Program unfortunately prohibited community peace officers from being involved with crime and criminal offenses. So when we look at the peace officers, there's two different types of peace officers in Alberta. There's Alberta peace officers that work for the province, and there's community peace officers, APOs and CPOs. APOs work for the province of Alberta in a variety of roles. You see them as sheriffs, conservation officers, fish and wildlife officers. CPOs, on the other hand, work for municipalities, Alberta Health Services, and at post-secondary educations. Alberta Justice tells us there's about 3,000 peace officers in Alberta, employed by about 300 different agencies, the province of Alberta being the largest. So my department employs a combination of community peace officers and bylaw enforcement officers. We provide services to the County of Grande Prairie, Town of Sexsmith, Town of Wembley, and Saddle Hills County with authority throughout Alberta. Take a quick look at our 2021 statistics. We issued 3,228 violation tickets. We conducted 2,476 investigations and occurrences. We had 343 trials. We received 8,707 calls and inquiries. Part of my portfolio is that the regional animal pound falls underneath us. So we brought in at the pound 1,005 animals, and the regional animal care facility is a project that we initiated jointly with the city of Grande Prairie when the SPCA closed. The RACF took in 555 animals and did 53 adoptions. We have a wonderful relationship with Bandaged Paws, and we transferred 422 of these animals to Bandage Paws for their adoption program. So throughout the year, our highest speeds that we encountered were 198 in an 80 zone, 209 in a 100 zone, 145 in a 50 zone, and 174 in an 80 zone. And of course, we do infrastructure protection. So the largest fine we issued in 2021 was $17,878 to an overloaded commercial vehicle. So my department is part of community services, and we're located in the county community services building in Claremont. Community services is made up of 5 separate departments underneath Dan Lemieux, who's the director. Agricultural services, family and community support services, also known as FCSS. We've got regional fire services, parks and recreation, and of course, my department. My department is part of a provincial program. We fall under that provincial legislation, policy, as well as provincial audit and oversight. Quick look at the org chart to see what my department is. Really, there's 3 separate units. There's an administration unit that takes care of all the back end, dealing with court, the crown, doing all our paperwork. There's a patrol unit that does the traffic safety, road protection, working with the RCMP on special events, emergency management, and specialized patrols. Then there's a community standards unit, and that does, they work primarily in the built up areas and urbanized growth, unsightly premises, snow removal, parking, bylaw enforcement, and of course, animal control throughout the region. And the regional animal care facility, or the regional pound, is also underneath that umbrella. The next little slide that we had, which is going to be part of this presentation, is an infographic that was built for us from our friends from communications. And it actually just shows the different units, the different policing agencies, and some contact information on the bottom right. That'll be saved with the recording for you to look at anytime you wish. So, although we're not directly involved with crime and criminal offenses, we're very active in our communities. How do we actually support crime prevention? Let's take a look. So every patrol my guys make adds a visible law enforcement presence in the community. Every investigation we enter into is one that the RCMP does not have to do. This allows them to concentrate on the more serious issues. We support and participate in the county's safe community strategy. We attend and support local crime prevention groups. We administer a very successful reported drug house program. We support the RCMP in the enhanced policing program. The county hosts the RCMP crime map on our website. The county shares the RCMP newsletter that Matt spoke of on social media platforms and on the county's website. And the rural detachment that the Reeve and Dan Lemieux spoke of is coming. We're working on it. But one of the neat things is we're hosting the rural RCMP members in the community services building in our office so that they have a safe place to work, and they're also in the rural more often, which makes for a shorter response. It also adds to increased communication between my officers and the RCMP. So the crime prevention program, reported drug house, there's a phone number that you can call for it. It's also reportable on the county's website, www.countygp.ab.ca. Great program, huge successes with it this last year. We support and work with, as I said, a number of crime prevention community groups, which includes the Rural Crime Watch, Citizens on Patrol, and of course, the Litecatch folks. I do want to touch on a few crime prevention apps that are of interest. There is the Alberta Rural Crime Watch app. There's the P3 app, which is for Crime Stoppers, and then of course the Litecatch app. Let's take a look at the first one. The Alberta Rural Crime Watch one, it's downloadable on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. I really find it a neat one. You want some crime prevention tips, got some time on your hands. It shows the RCMP boundary map. It's a link to the RCMP online crime reporting, and there's some fantastic, great tips that you can look at. When we talk about tips, you can scroll in, and each one of these is a separate category. You can click on it, and while we don't endorse it, it's something, it's interesting. It tells you what to do if your home's been broken into. It tells you if you've been attacked or approached. There's all kinds of different things. It's great for a read. We're here for crime prevention. Knowledge is power, folks. Have a read on it. The next one is the P3 Crime Stoppers. The P3 app is available on the Apple App Store or on Google Play, and it's free. There's 3 ways you can leverage Crime Stoppers, and that's you can do it by telephone at 1-800-222-TIPS. You can do it online at the p3tips.com website or by the app that's showing here. The final one is the Litecatch app. You can download the Litecatch app. It's available on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. It is a citizen share social media platform. So it's a crime prevention tool. This shows if you're in any specific location, it'll show the different things that have been reported on the app through the app near you. A suspicious activity, for example, what's shown here, and it says, hey, I saw that same truck. And so people start watching for it. My truck was stolen. It's X, X, and X. And they post that information. It's shared, and it helps people identify to call the police. On the last page, though, I want to point out users can provide support by collecting information on suspicious behavior and providing photos that may assist the community in helping RCMP in tracking down. The county awarded $50,000 to the Beaver Lodge and District Rural Crime Watch in 2021 to support a 1-year pilot to partner with the app. But I want to stress, if you use this and similar apps, please always remember the importance of reporting crime to the RCMP first. The RCMP do not monitor apps like these, and posting to these apps does not go to the police. My last caveat on this is, for emergencies, please call 911. So I'm very proud to be able to say that we provided a wide variety of dedicated service to this region over the past 45 years. In the next couple slides, there's some collages, and I just want to highlight some of the things that my people do. From public relations visits to joint agency specialized patrols, we live and raise our families in the communities we serve. We fundraise, participate in open houses, and assist our fire service. We do regular school zone patrols, crime prevention, commercial vehicle safety inspections, and protects our parks and green spaces. We do traffic safety, education and enforcement, and emergency management. And we do roads and infrastructure protection, including the seasonal road ban enforcement. We do participate in Remembrance Day and graduation grand march ceremonies, which changed significantly throughout this pandemic. Community safety sometimes also includes showing up and shoveling out a buried fire department in advance, fire hydrant in advance of the fire department responding. We participate in local parades, school presentations, and support many worthy causes. Sometimes we're lucky enough to get into a VIP escort duty photo like the one with the Stanley Cup. We play a role in the community safety every day, and we support our friends with the RCMP. Thanks for watching, folks. That ends my presentation. I will turn it back over to Staff Sergeant Short.
This concludes the presentation portion of this event. We invite you to post your questions in the question and answer area. We'll try to get to all the questions, but as mentioned earlier, the full recording will be posted on the county's website and YouTube channel. Again, I want to remind you that we will not answer questions about specific cases or investigations. Please keep your questions clean and respectful, as we will not address any that violate our social media commenting guidelines. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Mark Evans with the County of Grande Prairie, who will ask the first submitted question.
Thank you. Our first question would be for the County Regional Enforcement Services, and it is about the Litecatch app. And the question was if it is in use in the city as well.
Yes, thank you, Mark. I'll take that one. The Litecatch app is available and in use in a number of different municipalities. And I actually live in the city of Grande Prairie, and I use the Litecatch app, and it does work, and it shows me everything that's occurring that's been reported on the app within my region.
The next question we have was about the discussion around a new detachment being built in Claremont. And the question was, if it is built, would that mean there would be more officers in the area?
I can probably answer that question. The number of officers that are in an area is established by the province and how many people are in the area and stuff of that nature. So a new detachment isn't specifically linked to getting new members. That's dependent on the number of people and the population and the number of files that are being generated in the area.
Hey, great, thank you. The next question is about the Citizen on Patrol program. Do we have a Citizen on Patrol program available in the area? Does this program exist in Grande Prairie or in the county of Grande Prairie?
I'll answer that question. There is a Citizens on Patrol program within the town of Sexsmith. They've had that as a longstanding program within their community. Outside of that, there isn't a Citizens on Patrol program in the county. There is the Rural Crime Watch, which I would encourage people to participate in, which is a little bit more passive instead of looking around for issues to come across. If you are part of Rural Crime Watch and you're keeping an eye on your property, you'd be able to observe and report or use that. That would be the better vehicle, in my opinion, at that point in time.
Our next question is for the RCMP again, and it is, do the number of members you listed include those contracted out as well, for example, to Grovedale, et cetera?
The number of RCMP members that work in the Grande Prairie Rural Detachment includes the Grovedale area. So of the general duty members that we have, includes Grovedale, and anywhere south down to the Kakwa River is part of my detachment area. That includes out in the areas of the two lakes along with that. So the resources that we have as part of the rural detachment that I spoke of earlier in my presentation are available for those areas in the Grovedale area, Crooked Creek, Ridge Valley, those areas as well.
We have no further questions in right now. Oh, one just popped up, so we'll quickly take a look at that one and get back to. Okay, it's another question for the RCMP, and the question is, what is the current procedure that is in place for seeking out those who have been identified in break-in enters of homes and actively seeking out those that miss their court dates? The question was, what is the current procedure that is in place for seeking out those who have been identified in break-in enters of homes and actively seeking those who have missed their court dates?
I guess the question really revolves around people that would be identified potentially as prolific offenders. As part of our prolific offender management program, that we do try and monitor those people. I don't want to get into too much detail about investigative techniques when we're dealing with that. We do know who some of our prolific offenders are in the area. We do work with our crime reduction unit to monitor those people and as best we can. As for people that are on warrants or that have charges pending, that's the same kind of area, I guess, for lack of a better term, that we would work on where we can, and we identify that their area, then we will try and deal with those warrants as best we can.
All right, this is the next question, probably can be answered by both, but we'll start with the RCMP. And that question is, how can we protect our rural properties from theft?
That's a good question. I think that's one that everybody's been working on, struggling with for a lot of years. When it comes to protecting your rural residents for theft, a lot of things come to mind. The first one is some of the easy things that come to my mind is keys and vehicles in rural areas. That's always sometimes been an issue that we've seen. property security for ensuring that doors are locked, garage doors, things that can be locked are locked away so that they're out of sight. They're not easy to access. Properties are now moving a lot more towards putting gates across as barriers to make it more difficult. There's lots of other opportunities to deal with that, along with the video recordings, alarm systems, those types of things. Another area that might be an opportunity to reduce crime, especially in the evenings, is for lighting in the area. You've got well-lit areas. Criminals don't tend to like being in the light. So that's also another area that I would recommend when it comes to that.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mark. The only thing I'd add to that is, again, get to know your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, talk to the people around you, and explore joining organizations like Rural Crime Watch. I know that's not going to stop it, but it's going to get you talking about it. And then finally, in addition to the lighting and the gates, there's something called CPTED, which is a crime prevention designing technique. And I won't get into it necessarily here, but the Rural Crime Watch agencies train in that, and they can work it through. It's basically to not have your farmyard built and designed to where it actually aids criminals. So thank you.
Okay, our next question would also be for the RCMP, and the question was around the stats around the county crime rate. There was saw stats that the county crime rate is lower than many other jurisdictions. So the question is it less than the city, and what would we attribute that to?
I've got the stats here. So I can be honest with you, I didn't actually get the city stats. That's one of those not my department areas, and I didn't actually look at it as a comparator. So that is something I can certainly look into and address afterwards for how the city stats compare with the rural stats. I know in a general sense, I guess, that stats all the way around have been lower since the start of COVID. Has had quite a large impact, I think, on some of the activities in the area. You know, from a rural standpoint, you know, outside of fraud investigations, everything has gone down. I know last year our number of calls for service went up from last year, from 2021 to 2020, pardon me, up about 240. So not a large increase in the number of calls for service. And it's nice to see that we're still maintaining a good decrease in the amount of criminal activity from year to year. So those are encouraging.
I think one other item that we should mention is that with the COVID beginning, we had increased the length of hours to the 24-hour model for the rural detachment, which means that we're out all the time now. So we have a much larger presence, and that, I believe, is working to contribute as a deterrent to rural crime. The fact that we are out there, our response times are quicker because we are out there, and it just makes things more difficult for individuals to be engaged in an activity without being seen.
Okay, our next question is, are the mailbox break-ins still an issue being worked on in the rural areas?
Mailbox thefts are an issue, I would say, in the rural area. They have been occurring not as frequently these days as they were obviously during the Christmas season, when that was you know, much more highly likely for the criminals to get good stuff out of it. It's an issue for rural. I think it's an issue for the city as well. I know they've had issues with that in the past as well. So it's an ongoing issue. If we have worked projects in the past with Canada Post, and that's an area that we can always address. It hasn't come up lately, but again, that's something that our crime reduction unit is here for, and can certainly always keep in mind.
Okay, our next question, again, I think it's for the RCMP, and is there a registry, a voluntary registry for homes with CCTV cameras and that could capture images of value to enforcement?
I can take that answer. I guess the quickest answer to that question is no. We don't have a list of residences that have CCTV systems installed in them. I guess then that's about the best answer I can have at this stage of the game. If we are investigating, then usually we'll talk with homeowners and see if they know of neighbors that have camera systems in there that we may want to look at and work with. So.
Okay, our next question would be for the county, and I think it's probably best for Dan Lemieux. He spoke of it during his presentation, and the question is, what type of initiatives is the county undertaking to build and maintain safe communities?
Thank you for the question. So I think I mentioned earlier in my introduction that the County of Grande Prairie has made safe communities a strategic priority. So we, as a municipality, we've joined a national network of safe communities, and in a recent strategic planning session with council, they're talking about forming a safe community committee to look at what are we doing and what else can we do. So we'll always have support for the partnership. So the county has been very supportive of Citizens on Patrol and other organizations. So crime prevention is a partnership. It's not something that we can do alone. It's not something that the police can do alone. There's social service agencies that can also be big partners in safe communities. So it's going to be an ongoing project for the county, and we will be developing a safe community strategy in cooperation with all of our stakeholders.
Okay, great, thank you. Our next question, again for the RCMP this time. How far can a homeowner go to protect their property or family?
This question I think comes up fairly often. So it's always a question that in an answer that you always want to be careful with. You can always use reasonable force to protect yourself, to prevent the offense from occurring. That comes with a lot of catches and caveats that go with it. So, if your bad guy is running away from your house, you've essentially protected your property at that point in time. I wouldn't think of doing anything away from there. If you can get them out of your house, or you can get your family out of the house or out of the way safely, I would encourage that more than trying to provoke a confrontation with somebody, which could potentially cause issues for you down the road.
I'm just going to jump in with that. And I think the best way to look at it is, as police officers, we have specialized training, specialized tools and equipment when we put ourselves in harm's way to effect an arrest on somebody committing an offense. It is a very dangerous undertaking, and even police officers get hurt. So at the end of the day, there's no property worth your life or your spouse's or your child's. We're here. We have 911. We have people on patrol 24 hours a day. So if someone is committing an offense, use that system, use those mechanisms in place there, and keep yourself safe. And that's what we're here for. We're the ones that are supposed to come out and be there to protect you. So I would certainly encourage you, if something is ongoing, call 911, and then we can go from there. We can intervene on your behalf.
All right, thank you. Our next question is for the RCMP as well, and it is, will the RCMP's proposed new detachment in Claremont also assist in aiding other districts such as the Spirit River District?
I can answer that question. We work with all the detachments that are part of our borders. We work quite well with Spirit River. If they have an ongoing event or an investigation where they require resources from us, then we will work with them to help them as they need it. Same with Beaver Lodge, Valley View. We've always, it's part of one of the assets of being a part of the same organization is that we can draw strengths from one another to help out when some of those occurrences take place. So yeah, we would, that's not required a new detachment for us to do that. That's something that we do already.
Okay, we have another question related to the proposed detachment in Claremont. When a rural detachment is built in Claremont, does that mean there'll be more patrols in the rural area by the RCMP?
Again, I can take that one on. That's an area that we're already working on to get more members out in the rural areas. I think that's a big partnership that we have going on with the county right now. With part of our new MOU so that members have a place to work out of in the Claremont area, along with the other initiative with the door knocker program, those types of events. So we're always looking to get more members out in the community and in those rural areas more than we can instead of at a desk in a detachment somewhere.
Okay, our next question would be for the, oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say there that the establishment of the detachment is out there and they're patrolling now. A new detachment would allow us as a rural detachment to be a little bit closer to the community, which is obviously something we want as an organization. We want to be closer to the communities that we police, but the actual patrols are currently being done. Our members are out there, and in an effort to, I guess, transition to a new detachment, the county has been very cooperative with us in providing us space in their current enforcement services building so that we can be closer to the community there. So those things are ongoing as we speak, but certainly they have a larger presence out in the community is where we would like to eventually be.
Okay, great. Thank you. This would be a good time to mention we did get one comment in our questions and related to what you just discussed. The comment was, thank you for the visibility factor in the rural area. We find it helps. So now our next question is for the county, probably best for Dan, I believe. Is the county support for the Beaver Lodge Rural Crime Watch and Litecatch going to be continued?
The support that we have for the Beaver Lodge and District Rural Crime Watch is a pilot project. I believe it comes to a final report in March. So in March, I believe the group will be back in front of council, and should they request an extension of the pilot project or have another proposal for council, that'll be considered by council at the time. Right now, the funding was for $50,000 for 1 year. So there was no commitment made past that, but certainly I'm sure the group will come back and have a conversation with council. So that'll be a council decision. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, what is the county and RCMP doing in partnership perhaps to engage the young people aside from the DARE program? And then there was a subsequent question, if the DARE program is even in place anymore.
I can take that one on. The DARE program is not in place any longer. We're just in the development phase with the division for a new program that will take over for that. That's one of the areas that we identified when we took on some of the enhanced policing responsibilities within the detachment. Each member that's part of the rural detachment is assigned a school to ensure that they are visible at that school, meet with the school leadership. If they identify a presentation or anything like that from the member, then they're able to provide that service. I know one of my constables spent quite a bit of time at the Whispering Ridge School in the early fall for a number of presentations with classes there. We've had members out at all of the schools within our detachment area just to meet the kids, and we plan on continuing on doing that.
Anyone else wanted to comment on that question? Oh, good. Okay, we can move on to our next one. A game related to the proposed Claremont detachment. How many members would be stationed in a potential Claremont detachment?
I'll take that. Right now, the general duty members for sure would move out to the Claremont detachment. So that's the 16 constables and 3 supervisors along with myself. For sure would work out of that detachment. We'd have to look at how best to utilize the rest of our resources when it comes to the GIS and SIU positions moving forward.
This has been one of those areas that the Region Council has had some questions on, and at this point in time, no decision has been made. I would highlight that crime is trans-jurisdictional. So the individuals that are being that are committing the crimes may live in one area and commit a crime in the other, and vice versa, and travel back between jurisdictions. And I think that's why you see units such as alert in different places in the province to have multiple jurisdictions have the ability to target those individuals doing that trans-jurisdictional crime, and how best to maintain that investigative capacity, and where to lodge the individuals, and what that balance looks like will be determined as we move closer to the opening of the new detachment. But I would like to highlight that our integrated general investigation section, our integrated crime reduction units, drug units, specialized investigative units work extremely well and have developed a tremendous investigational capacity, and that would be something that we would like to maintain, and I think would be a great benefit to both the county and to the city.
Yeah, great, thank you. Our next question is again for the RCMP. If a break-in is occurring in Carriage Lane or Wedgwood, who would respond, city RCMP or rural RCMP?
That is, they are the responsibility of the rural detachment to investigate those crimes. We work in partnership with the city detachment daily. If rural members are unavailable or they are a greater distance away, then the city members have been on more than one occasion, many occasions, will come out and help and do the initial response for that. They may come out initially, and then a rural member, once they're available, may come to continue the investigation. But again, that's the partnership that the superintendent is working about, and that interfunctionality between us where we work together to respond to those quickly.
I'd just like to highlight there that at the end of the day, any immediate urgent threat to life and limb, it would be whomever would be the closest, regardless if that was in the city or the county. At the end of the day, we would like to ensure that we will ensure that our citizens, whether they're on the rural or the city side, are well protected. From an investigative perspective, if there was a break-in in that area, that would be the jurisdiction of the rural detachment, the county detachment, and it would be the investigating agency.
Okay, our next question again for the RCMP starts with a bit of a preamble. I'd really like to see a large-scale programs done to address drugs, bullying, et cetera, with RCMP engaging with the youth. This likely takes cooperation of county and school boards, I realize, but with tough times these days for kids, it is critical as part of the community component. Is anything like this being worked on?
At this point, there's no specific program. Again, that comes to members being out at the schools and meeting with the individual school and the leadership at those schools. If they have an issue that we can address, then we will happily work with those schools and partner up with them to address it. Our communications is always an issue from our division, where we're trying to broadcast anti-bullying messages and work with our community policing in the detachment for any anti-bullying or anything that comes up from those requests from schools or from parents.
Did anyone else have anything they wanted to add to that one? No? Okay. There are no further questions at this point.
Wait, if there aren't any further questions, we've reached the end of our event. For those of us, pardon me, for those of us who have joined us this evening, thank you for coming and participating. We like to thank you for coming. If you have any questions or would like to again review this again, there's the full recording will be posted on the county's website and YouTube channel.
On behalf of the detachment, I would also like to thank the county administration, the county staff, without whom we would not have been able to put on this virtual town hall. The assistance provided by the county was instrumental, and from myself as the detachment commander, the officer in charge, I wish to recognize the individuals involved and thank them for their contributions. Thank you.